What is going on guys, Aprox here, and in this video I want to take a few minutes and talk about Endo. This is going to be a detailed guide to help you reach maximum efficiency, so the farming can be done in 1 or 2 sessions and let you forget about it for a while. Endo as an item is only used in the process of fusion, improving the effectiveness of your mods, and the most common ways of getting it is by doing excavation missions, Rathuum Arena in Sedna, and arbitrations. I like to do these solo just because it's not that hard, and host migration is a pain in the rear and still happens way too often to be ignored, so for that I have some very effective builds, and links to all of them can be found in the video's description. Also, a viewer by the name of Izagane asked for my Novas fashion, so I've made a poster for all of you on DeviantArt, link to that is in the video's description as well. So, for beginners or players who want a quick squeezing method between bigger events, I recommend Charlistan Excavation on Europa. It is a tier 3 dark sector excavation mission, meaning that rotation A has a 25% chance of dropping 400 endo, and rotation cycle looks like this. 2 rotations A, followed by rotation B and then C. This cycle repeats itself indefinitely. So the drills 1 and 2, 5 and 6, 9 and 10 and so on are the ones to aim for. It takes 100 seconds for each excavator to complete its task, while new dig site markers appear every 60 seconds. This is considered to be a very easy mission, so any Warframe will do, but Snow Globe, Frost or Limbo with a decent range and duration makes it so easy that you can practically AFK while doing it. Also, don't forget to periodically sell your excess mods for Endo. Doing so will grant you a fairly decent amount over time, and if you're really desperate you can exchange unused Rathuum mods as well, each of them being worth 1000 Endo, but don't just waste them because they can also be sold for 10 platinum each. Some time ago I made a scheme where I sold 12 of my Rathuum mods for 120 platinum, and then used that platinum to buy 30 Ayatan Anasa sculptures and exchanged them for Endo. This way I got well over 100,000 Endo in 7 trades instead of just 12,000 had I just sold my Rathuums in the mods console. Okay, now the first actual method of farming Endo is obviously Rathuum Arena, that can be found on planet Sedna and has 3 levels. Each level requires a certain amount of judgment points to be entered, so just do the first one a couple of times to accumulate enough to enter the third one, and your concerns should end there. You're going to want to go with Desecrate Nekros, which is a default looting frame for pretty much anything in this game, or a Pilfering Khora, which is also a very good choice, but not as common, plus a hard-hitting weapon to shred those pesky enemies. So for Nekros, you really want to use the Despoil Augment. The mod can be bought from the parent sequence at rank partner or Red Veil at rank exalted for 25,000 standing or 10 platinum on Warframe market. It is not entirely necessary but is highly recommended. Now for the rest of your build, you really should be focusing mainly on survivability with a bit of range and efficiency. Once you're in a mission, all there is to do is cast your third ability to consume corpses for a chance to roll the corpses drop table again, producing additional loot. A good /melee is highly recommended to synergize with Nekros' Desecrate. This helps to dissect enemy body parts to several pieces, which results in more potential drops, since all body parts counts as a separate corpse, even though they came from the same enemy. Now for Khora, you need to equip a Pilfering Strangledome Augment to get that 65% drop chance increase. Strangledome Augment can be picked up from Steel Meridian at rank General or Red Veil at rank Exalted for 25,000 standing or 10 platinum on Warframe market. Keep in mind that this percentage does not scale from power strength, so there's no need to use any ability strength mods on this one, leaving more room for you to emphasize on range, duration and survivability. In addition to this build, you'll need to have a hard-hitting primary or secondary weapon, or even a ranged melee like Redeemer or Stropha, since you won't always be able to reach enemies dangling on your dome with regular melee attacks. Also, have in mind that it is rather annoying to find and kill all those dangling enemies on a huge dome, so keep an eye out for any damage numbers popping up on your screen. Xenoric Focus Cool with Energizing Dash is a good pick for both of these builds, but Nekros can also take advantage of Naramon's Power Spike, allowing you to maintain your combo counter for pretty much the entire time. Each solo run should take you just about 4 minutes to complete, with the reward ranging from 4 to 1200 Endo. I personally find that going with Khora consistently yields better results than Nekros, not only by making it much easier to not get randomly one-shot, but producing more drops in general. So if you can choose, go with Khora over Nekros. Before we go any further, I'd like to go completely off topic for a second and ask you for some feedback, because I've been working hard on making a template for my videos descriptions to add more value for you, so when you're done watching, please take a look at it and let me know if you find the added information useful. Now moving on to the next method, which isn't exactly a method of farming since you're only able to do it once a week, but you've got to make sure you do it anyway. Not only for Endo, but for a minuscule amount of platinum as well. And that is the weekly Aitan treasure hunt. All of the sculptures can be sold for up to 3400 Endo or 40 platinum apiece, considering you've put those Aitan stars in the sockets. The easiest way to go about these missions would be by choosing a high mobility Warframe like Titania or Wukong. I personally prefer Wukong just because it's a monkey that can turn itself into a flying cloud, and that's pretty dang cool if you ask me. You won't be needing anything other than duration and perhaps some sprint speed for those builds to work. I also have some efficiency on mine just so I can have more liberty in terms of casting and recasting abilities. There's nothing really special about these aside from the fact that you may want to familiarize yourself with the layouts of these mazes by purposely failing the mission a few times. And don't worry, you can restart these as many times as you'd like until you actually manage to get into the treasure room, which usually has a bunch of containers in it, so don't be lazy and try to find all of them, because more often than not you will find an Aitan star in one of them. Then go back to Meru and exchange your sculpture for Endo. And again, you will receive significantly more of it if you've put those Aitan stars in its sockets. For the third and probably the best method, we have arbitrations. The reason I decided to finally recommend arbitrations, aside from the fact that they have a very Endo-friendly drop table, is that now, whenever you die, you get to keep all the mission rewards and affinity. Dying will still fail the mission, however, and you'll have to wait for a new one to appear in your navigation before you can continue. For a drop summary, we have a Rotation A that has a 44% chance to drop 900 Endo and a combined 27% chance to drop one of 3 Aitan sculptures, Rotation B that has 44.5% chance to drop 1200 Endo and a combined 24% chance to drop one of 2 Aitan sculptures, and Rotation C that has a 33% chance to drop 1500 Endo and a 20% chance to drop 1 Aitan sculpture. These rotations cycle as follows: 2 A rotations followed by 2 B rotations followed by a Rotation C, after which the mission will continue on Rotation C endlessly. To gain access to arbitrations, you'll first have to have cleared the entire star chart, including Dark Sectors, Lua, the Kuo Fortress and Deimos. The only exceptions being the disconnected assassination nodes for Mutilist Alad V, Jorda's Golem on Eris and the Zealoid on Deimos. For solo farming Endo, I'd like to limit the range of missions to just 4 types: Survival, Defense, Excavation, and if you have the gear and skill to quickly find and eliminate demolists, Disruption. Keep in mind that any corpus or even infested missions will quickly become a pain in your behind, so I advise to skip them entirely. The reason behind this is that it's much more efficient to just blast your way through a simple endless mission where you can easily stay in control and don't worry about nullifier bubbles or gas clouds. For survival, you can go with anything you feel comfortable with that either has decent survivability like Inaros, Nova or Wisp for example, since these missions are not much different from the regular ones, aside from having arbitration shield drones that are immune to all damage and effects from exalted weapons, and dropped capsules restore only 75% as much life support. If you're feeling fancy though, go with something that can clear enemies before they can do any damage, like Peacemaker Mesa, which I'll be covering in more detail in just a minute, Saren, Ember or Zaku. Now the real deal and probably the fastest way of farming Endo is by doing Arbitration Defense missions. You'll be protecting a Hexis operative NPC which will follow a chosen player instead of roaming freely, thus giving you a bit of an advantage when playing alone. Rotation drops are given every 5 waves instead of 10 as of previously, making this the second most efficient way of piling up rotation rewards after Excavation. My first recommendation is a tanky Peacemaker Mesa equipped with Arcane's precision and velocity to enhance Mesa's exalted pistols. Remember, the shield drones cannot be killed with these, so make sure you have another hard-hitting weapon in your arsenal. At the core of this build lies in one of the most powerful synergies in the game, which is a combination of adaptation mod and infused pillage. I'm working on a full video about this build, so make sure you're subscribed if you don't want to miss that. Now the key to using this one is to make sure you have Shooting Gallery and Shatter Shields active at all times for a noticeable damage buff and 95% damage reduction, and playing off a high ground with a direct line of sight to most of the map lets you extensively use Peacemaker, which is your main damage dealer. The second build is Ivara with her Cloaking Arrow. This is for players who prefer a more passive approach and have achieved the endgame weapons such as Kuva Brahma or Nukor, and a well-crafted melee for emergency kills and healing. Since this Warframe is picked not for its damage dealing capabilities but for stealth, a close to 5 meter radius on your Cloaking Arrow is pretty much the only requirement. The defense objective will stay inside of it as long as you do, but modding for this much range will take most of your Warframe's modding capacity, and that's exactly why you need a powerful weapon. Alternatively, you could shoot your Cloaking Arrow directly onto objective itself, so the bubble would go wherever he goes, but this has a minor drawback. Whenever you finish the wave, the defense objective will spawn in a different location, and if the previous one had a Cloaking Arrow on him, there will be no marker for you to follow, thus making it much harder for you to find it. A very similar effect can be achieved with Limbo and his Vanish, making the defense objective unable to take damage as long as it's active, but I've had bad experiences with some enemies getting into Limbo's Rift and at higher levels can very quickly kill the objective. For solo excavation missions, there is no better choice than Limbo with maximum range and duration. But if you're doing it solo, you'll never be able to take full advantage of the speed at which you could be farming if you were playing with a squad. After 180 seconds in the mission, full squads have 2 drills active at all times, cutting the rotation drop times in half. Doing this solo is still a really good way of farming, but squads will always have double the efficiency, so if you were to find a squad, go with 2 Limbos, Slow Nova and a looting or support frame like Nekros, Wisp or Trinity. Anyways guys, I hope you enjoyed this one and possibly learned something. It took a really long time to make, so don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. If you found a secret in today's video, don't forget to tell me what it is down in the comments with a timestamp of where you found it, and if you're the first one to do so, I'll pin you at the top of the comment section. And as always, this has been Aprox, thank you for your eyeballs, and I'll see you in the next one. Why do people hate Limbo so much? You just need to use Shift.